Hello, everyone. It's James from the Football Culture Podcast. Another mini pod for you. Now we're into the knockout stages of the World Cup. Currently recording at the time of Switzerland, who are playing Colombia right now. It's behind a paywall, so I'm not watching that particular one. Which is a shame, actually, because as I know in the UK, all of the matches are free to air. Unfortunately, here in Spain, there's only one free match a day, and that's on the public television broadcasts. But the rest of it is on DAZN, so I've not got a subscription to that. The subscription price is a little bit too high for me on DAZN, I'm afraid. So the World Cup, now we're into the group stages. Well, I must say since the last recording, I'm certainly enjoying it a lot more. I think it always gets more interesting when it gets to the knockout stages and there's more jeopardy in the games. But also the fact that there's just less games per day, which makes it feel a little easier to follow. I said on the previous pod that, I just felt there was too many games, and that was... it was saturated, so it was a little bit too much. But now it's been slimmed down. I'm finding it a lot more enjoyable. In terms of the group stages, I don't think there were any huge surprises on teams going out during the group stage. I know a lot of listeners in Scotland would have been hoping for Scotland to have gotten through the group for the first time in their history. And their 1-0 win over Haiti was, it's proved not to be enough. They would have needed some more goals in that game, particularly conceding so many against Brazil. But I think they did well to qualify for their first World Cup since 1998. So I think that is an achievement in itself. And hopefully Scotland will be able to build on that. All three hosts are now out of the World Cup. Mexico... versus England. Wow, what a game that was. It kicked off with the delayed kickoff 3:00 here in Spain. I stayed up for that. I didn't drink any alcohol, but I felt awful the next day because I had an early appointment. So I had about 2 hours sleep and was a complete zombie all day. I had an appointment with an office here in Seville, and it was a bit challenging understanding rapidly spoken, deep, thick Andalus Spanish while I hadn't had any sleep, which I tried to explain to the functionaria who I had the appointment with, but he didn't seem particularly chatty, and he just muttered that England were lucky against Mexico. Was England lucky against Mexico? I don't think so. I think that was one of the best England performances for a long, long time. Certainly the best in the World Cup that I can ever remember, and my first World Cup was 1986. I just thought it was a fantastic performance considering that England were up against it, playing the altitude in Mexico City, etc. And I think Mexico did superbly well, just absolutely battering England. It was just all Mexico and England just desperately trying to hang on for almost 50 minutes with 10 men. The atmosphere in the Azteca seemed incredible, and I'm very, very sorry to see Mexico go from the competition, which leads to a wider point. And I think that I know a lot of England fans that travel to Mexico, and while they enjoyed their time in the US, for them, Mexico was something else. The atmosphere, the fans, it felt like a proper footballing country. The fans were very friendly. And I think the final should have been held at the Azteca. And Mexico only got 13 games. There was 13 games outside of the USA, which for me is just not enough co-hosting. So, but unfortunately, being the junior partners, they were never going to get the final with it being in the USA. Coming on to the USA, there was the controversy over the red card with Trump making a call to Infantino about the red card. Quite frankly, I think it's disgusting. It's clear interference from President Trump into a football competition that is being held in his country. But quite frankly, apart from the fact they're hosting the organisation of it in terms of FIFA's rules, etc., and decisions that are made, footballing reasons, he should keep his orange face out of. It's all pretty disgusting, but we know FIFA. We know what FIFA's like. One of the most corrupt organisations on the planet. There are dodgy governments around the world that are less corrupt than FIFA. So they seem to have no shame, and it just seems to be all about power. As long as they have power, they don't care about reputation or doing the right thing or the good of the game or anything like that. It's just all about having power, having nice dinners, being able to fly around the world, making your money, lining your pockets. And the football fans around the world deserve a lot better. But they're not going to change, and they're not going anywhere. In fact, it's making a lot of us feel nostalgic for the days of Sepp Blatter, or Septic Bladder, as a friend of mine used to call him. Canada, I think, did quite well, and they got through to the knockout stages. So I think that was good for them. I mean, obviously, they're out of the competition now, but I think they did well getting through the group. But knockout stages, Germany going out to Paraguay. Was that a surprise? Yes, I think it is. I mean, Germany, there's the old cliche, isn't there? You should never write off the Germans. Germany are footballing superpower, always produce good players. But I just don't feel this German side, is anywhere near some of the size they've had in the past. So it's not a huge shock that they're out the competition. But I think it was a bit of a surprise that they went out to Paraguay, who there was a lot of fuss made of Paraguay's antics against France. Now, I didn't think it was that bad. I've seen a lot worse in old football league matches in England in the 80s and 90s. I know the game has changed since then. But while what Paraguay were up to and the total shithousery was, it wasn't good at all. I don't think it was as bad as everyone thought. But, having said that, I don't think anyone's sorry to see Paraguay go after that against France. And worryingly for other teams in the competition, France have looked absolutely superb through the whole competition. They struggled a little bit against Paraguay, but they got the job done. And so it goes to show that France can play beautiful football and win. And if they need to, they can do whatever is necessary to get through difficult opponents like Paraguay. So France are still my favourites by a long way to win the competition. Now, coming on to Spain. They were among my favourites at the start of the tournament to win the competition. And they had a bit of a stutter against Cape Verde, or Capo Verde. I think we should just call it Capo Verde, shouldn't we? There's no point in mixing the languages there. I think that the fact that Spain haven't conceded a goal is a real strong point for them. They haven't been playing the kind of beautiful, free-flowing, fast-attacking football that they played in the Euros. In fact, they're a little bit boring to watch, particularly if you don't like possession-based football, which I do, funnily enough. But I do know people that hate tiki-taka, as they say, possession-based football. That defence of Spain, which I'm quite surprised. I would have thought their attack was more mouth-watering, has served them well. Lamine Yamal clearly, not 100% match fit, and Nico Williams has had an injury and various injuries this season. Has not been brilliant, so that's affected Spain on the wings. But they're going along well. Uruguay crashed out in the group stage. A lot of people pinning the blame on Bielsa. I'm not too sure. I think that's the last we've seen of Bielsa now, unless, of course, he wants to make what would be a brilliant return back home to Newell's Old Boys, where he belongs, his club in Rosario. But I don't think it was a great Uruguay side. They don't have the players that they had, back in 2010 or 2014. So I don't think it can all the blame can be put on Bielsa. Although three teams that I think have won the World Cup for various reasons is Capo Verde, Curaçao, and our good friend Dr. Congo. Curaçao, just for qualifying for the World Cup, was an incredible achievement. So they've won the World Cup there. And Capo Verde, for getting through the group and really, really pushing Argentina, was absolutely superb. There's levels. And though teams like Capo Verde have reached a superb level for them. So that should be applauded. And Dr. Congo, they almost signed the death certificate for England. England had enough in the end to come through that. But Dr. Congo did themselves proud, not only for qualifying, but how they played in the competition. So hats off to them. Now, speaking of England, I think the performance against Mexico really did show that there's two world-class players in Harry Kane and Jude Bellingham. And I was a bit worried about the England defence. Okay, they scored 2 goals, but some of their defending was fantastic. So I'm feeling a lot more confident about England's chances now after the Mexico game. Will England go on to win the World Cup? I don't think so. But they created a huge memory for fans. And there's only one team that can win it, isn't there? And, if you're not going to win it, you want at least one game where there's, that sticks in your heart, where there's huge memory. And England provided that against Mexico. So for whatever happens from now on, as an England supporter, I will be happy with this World Cup. It's certainly better than just, crashing out in the group stages like in back in 2014 in Brazil. And speaking of Brazil, they lost to Norway. Now, 20 years ago, that would have seemed like a complete and utter surprise, a complete and utter shock. But this is a very good Norway team. They have Haaland and Ostergrad. Haaland, for me, just a world-class player and still young. Just a wonderful, wonderful striker. And his performance was out of this world against Brazil. But having said that, for Brazil to go out in the round of 16 for a nation of their football pedigree is pretty poor. And for me, the biggest thing about Brazil was it was a huge mistake by Ancelotti to take Neymar and to indulge him. It seems to be all about him with Neymar, his ego. He looks like he's put on a lot of weight to me. Doesn't look fit. It's just, if you really love your country, don't make yourself available. Don't make it about you. Make it about the team. Make it about your nation. And Neymar failed spectacularly there. And yeah, the last glimpse we had of him at a World Cup was his shithousery with the goalkeeper and his general bad behaviour. So he's not done anything for his legacy there. Senegal, one of the African teams that I thought would do a lot better in the World Cup, out the competition, throwing away a 2-0 lead against Belgium to lose the match. Senegal had ample chances in this World Cup to hold on, but I think they should have done better there. And today, another incredible game. I was saying Mexico-England was the game of the World Cup, possibly eclipsed by Argentina-Egypt. Egypt was 2-0 up with 15 minutes of normal time remaining, and Argentina somehow pulled out of the bag despite a messy penalty earlier in the competition. And while that is impressive, Argentina, I think, are good and solid, but I don't think they've got enough to win it. But if they do go on to win the competition, Argentines, feel free to send me messages laughing in my face. But yeah, for me, something missing there with Argentina. I think France could really, really punish them if they played them. But we shall see. Colombia, I've not seen anything of Colombia in this tournament because their matches, for some reason, always seem to be in the early hours here in Spain. So I haven't seen anything of them. But they're picking up results. And JP was saying on our World Cup preview pod that there wasn't a particularly high expectations for Colombia in this tournament, but they seem to do well. But we'll see what the result is of tonight's match. And finally, Portugal. Now, I can't help but feeling Roberto Martinez should have done much better with that Portuguese team. He had a fantastic FA Cup win with Wigan many years ago. 2009, was it? 2010. I don't remember. Memory failing me as I'm getting older. And it's 40 odd degrees here in Sevilla. So my energy levels are not functioning at full throttle, shall we say. But I think they should have done better. They were a bit unlucky to draw Spain in the round of 16. Always going to be a tough fixture, and it is always a shame when two great teams come up against each other reasonably early on in the competition. But the knockout stage. But I really thought Portugal should have been done a bit better. And Ronaldo, for all he has achieved, again, not as bad as Neymar, but come on, it was a World Cup too far. I don't think he should have been starting every game, and he would have been much better, I think, as possibly a vibes man and someone to come off the bench for the last 5-10 minutes or whatever, or an extra time period or something. But Portugal are out, and with the players they've got, I think their report there would be much do better. Anyway, so that was the group stages and the knockout rounds. Just a word for Croatia. Probably the last time we've seen Luka Modric. He's been a superb player down the years. And it was a shame to see them go out. I think they were a bit unlucky against Portugal as well with that snickometer decision. But, well, it is what it is. And Croatia, I just think, to have gone so deep in tournaments for a country with such a small population, they really, really have been a fantastic international side over a sustained period of time. And I think they're like I said before about winning the World Cup just by being there. I mean, just for Croatia to go so deep in tournaments, not just the World Cup, but in Euros, and to produce the players they do from such a small population really is something to be impressed by. So coming up, we've got France against Morocco. I actually think that's going to be France's biggest test. I like Morocco, but I just can't see past the French. I think if there is going to be someone who beats France, I think Morocco could be the team to do it, and a little surprise perhaps. But France, for me, I think will go further. Spain, Belgium. I think Spain will have too much for the Belgians. Norway, England. Now, that's a really difficult one. Very, very difficult for me to call that one. Norway, much more of a similar footballing culture to England. I don't know whether that's a good thing or a bad thing. The England defenders will know Haaland well, but on the other hand, he will know the England defenders well as well. So we'll see what happens then. Could be a case of Haaland versus Kane in the striking department. We shall see. And Argentina will play whoever the winner of Colombia versus Switzerland. Nothing against Switzerland, but I'd love to see an Argentina-Colombia quarter-final. But that would, of course, mean that only one South American team would get to the semi-finals. But anyway, lots to look forward to, lots to enjoy. And we'll do a proper full-length podcast once the World Cup has ended, I think. We'll bring Rob and JP back for that if we can, just to discuss the tournament as a whole. So lots to look forward to. Hope you're enjoying it. So Football Culture Podcast is on all the socials, Instagram, Facebook. Not that anyone under the age of 40 goes on Facebook these days, but Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, Blue Sky, the lot. The Football Culture Podcast. So follow us on there, like and subscribe to the podcast. Really does help. Tell your friends about it. Word of mouth, old school, but it's the best school. And send us some comments and let us know what you would like to see on the Football Culture Podcast coming up, what you think of the World Cup, whatever you want to tell us, really. And I'll see you all very soon for another episode of the Football Culture Podcast.